hello. Where to begin? It's been quite a weekend. Quite a roller coaster of emotions and reactions and disbelief. And the drama continues to unfold, so it's hard to really know if it's a good idea to even speak anymore on the topic until more things develop. But there's already been a number of things that seem worthy of attention. First and foremost was this video put up by MGTV. He also did the one I did in my last video, showing Logan Paul's speech at the Flat Earth conference. But he was able to get his hands on this interview video done by Kelly Wheel, I believe is her name, from the Daily Beast. And she wrote an article as well that was extremely interesting. But yeah, this is outside the conference, and she, even in the midst of doing the interview, it becomes patently obvious to her that it's all a big joke, and that he is just trolling the time. I mean, it's impossible to not really conclude. He can't even keep a straight face, and he just breaks into laughter, and she asks him if he can even continue answering the questions without laughing.
You mean it's not a globe, or
so basically the Earth is flat.
Any evidence there, or what's your thinking?
Well, I mean, if you just look, you can see the Earth is flat.
Yeah, seems like it. You have fans here? Why here?
Well, so the Earth is flat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So you're also a flat earther?
No, I'm not. I'm just wondering why you're a flat earther.
I just to me, it's just the subject gets tricky because basically,
How did you not hit some of your points?
My points are
hit the main one at least.
All right. Everyone in school. He was just smiling at me.
I'm just listening to you. I want to see you do this without laughing. This isn't a really compelling argument. You need to tell me why the Earth is flat.
Isn't it obvious?
Yeah? No,
I'm serious. I mean, I'm laughing because there's a stigma around being a flat earther, and it's this sticky situation where I'm a public figure, and I have an image, and I don't know, man. Everyone's been told by teachers and NASA, of course, NASA, obviously.
Lies. Never straight answer.
Right. So everyone's been told that the Earth is flat or the Earth is round, and there's globes in classrooms, and to me, it's just so obvious that obviously the Earth is flat. Obviously.
Facts. That was a really solid. That was more compelling the first time, I think. And my question is
So it's patently obvious to her what he's doing, and his answers and responses are just so ridiculously asinine that it's honestly just painful to watch. And this is in the midst of supposedly the interview that Robbie did with him in the hotel room. It's going to be released at some point today, so we'll see if he still does that. But overall, I'm still trying to get my own bearings on everything I'm watching and seeing, and in some ways, there's a sense of satisfaction, I guess, in seeing the actions of people come to fruition, but in such an insane way that it's still hard to really even comprehend at this point. For whatever reason, I found myself thinking back to the story that we've all talked about and shared, and how for the vast majority, almost without exception, the first exposure any of us had to the concept of a flat earth was when we were kids in school and learning about Columbus setting sail and how everyone thought he was going to sail off the edge and fall into the abyss and be lost forever. And just seems like such an ironic picture at this point, because even though, yes, we all know that there is no edge that you can sail off of and fall into space, and everyone has had to address those kinds of responses if you're into the flat earth. But in an ironic way, it seems like there's a bit of metaphorical truth to that in a way that maybe we've all fallen off the edge, in a way. You know, both individually and collectively, there's no going back. There's no climbing your way back up the waterfall, back to the solid ground or the regular ocean. We're all tumbling through the abyss now of just internet meme insanity. So what do you do? Oh, what do you even say at this point? I mean, reading this article, it was actually a very fascinating read, because she's just giving her perspective on all the people she walked around and talked to at the conference, and the merchandise tables, and it's kind of a perfect snapshot of what really is being portrayed to people from that mainstream mindset, people in the media. Now that there's 2 Flat Earth conferences in the books, can you think of a single media representation that was anything other than just mocking disbelief? The whole circus sideshow type of thing. I mean, to where she does a pretty good job just portraying like what a confusing mess of explanations and perspectives all these flat earthers have, and really the only common theme, the only commonality she seems to come across is the fact that everyone just feels alone and isolated and they're crazy, and that's just sort of the underlying connection between all these people, is that they're coming together, and we're flat earthers and we're all part of this flat earth family. And of course, that's really the impetus as to why a conference like this ever happened in the first place. And even the first year, when I was voicing my concerns, my objections, I can't tell you how many people I talked to who agreed and who sympathized with a lot of the points and the dangers, but then at the end of the day, it just came back to them wanting to have connections with other flat earthers, not wanting to feel alone, not wanting to feel lost and surrounded by people who don't see what they see. And for me, maybe that's just sort of the saddest part of it, that in the end, it's that very real loneliness and sense of being ostracized and alienated that is actually what is being capitalized on and exploited, with a complete disregard for all the fallout and all the damage that comes with it, even before this whole Logan Paul fiasco. But now it's just ramped up to the nth degree that I guess we still have to wait and see what Logan Paul does, but it seems almost impossible not to conclude that, there is a big hit piece coming, and that he's just trolling the hell out of the whole thing. I don't know how you could watch this interview that Kelly Wheel did and not see that is just painfully obvious. But will it be painfully obvious to those who invited him in and believed he was genuine? That's the question. Will there ever be a reckoning or a reflection upon this whole trajectory? Or is it just going to charge ahead nonetheless? I mean, to me, that's probably the craziest thing to imagine out of everything, that despite all this, that there will still be plenty of people who will just charge forward nonetheless and keep banging the drums and keep flat smacking, people, and debating the globe heads. And in the end, the gospel is just completely lost in the shuffle. And for me, that's really the most painful part of it all, is that for so long, the Christian flat earth promoters have hailed this as this witnessing tool, as this way of reaching people for Jesus through biblical cosmology. And I know that they want to believe that, and yet can't admit that this approach has harmed the gospel more than anything. At this point, just forget flat earth. Forget what the world thinks about flat earth or flat earthers. We should be far more concerned with what the world thinks about God and what the world thinks about the message of Jesus Christ. And I don't hear that in any of these news reports. I don't hear that in any of these presentations from the conference, Christian speakers or none. And I've been thinking about the verse that says that the gospel will be preached to all the world, to the very ends of the earth, and then the end will come. But it's not the gospel that we're taking to the ends of the earth. We're more focused on defining what the ends of the earth are, rather than the simple issue of that it's the people in it that need the gospel, regardless of the geometry and geography of how we reach them. And so it's a difficult point to not be giving into bitterness, not to be giving into despair, because yeah, it's like Pandora's box, right? Like there's just no putting it back. It's completely outside of anyone's control. There's no framing the narrative anymore, and it's gonna go where it goes. And like I said, it's painful to watch what's happening and to think about what else is gonna transpire. But it's very sobering to then just be brought back to just letting go of it all. Letting go of being upset, letting go of feeling aggravated by people and their choices and what's going on with this quote movement. Just letting it all go. Coming back to the only hill that's really worth dying on, and it's not flat earth, and it's not conspiracy even. It's not any of these things. It's the person and message of Jesus. Whatever you want to call him, Yeshua, whatever. I guess it just feels like sort of a fitting description, a fitting picture. Having fallen off the edge, in the spiritual sense, in the eternal sense, tumbling into the abyss, of being lost and confused, not knowing what everything is for, not knowing why we're here, not knowing what we're really fighting against, not knowing what the real answer is. It's the same questions that pervade and apply to every single person in the world, regardless of what shape it is. Who are we? Who made us? Why are we all broken? What is redemption? What is salvation? What is love? What is faith? What is truth?